Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am really looking forward to this today. I've got a cool guest that I've been admiring for a long time, Larry Krueger. He's in customer development for McWilliams Mayflower. He's our neighbor to the north. Larry, how's it going today?
Very good, Ben. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here, and honestly, you're the right kind of guest for today, okay? Because I'm thinking, okay, it's the election, right? It's the United States presidential election. Let's get us, who's the perfect guest right now? A mover from Canada, okay? Because that's where we're all going, okay? Half the people are going there no matter what happens today, okay? So you're the guy, all right? So I'm sure it's a bulk discount. You start selling truckloads going north. I'm sure it'll be all good, right?
Crazy times. Interesting times.
Does it matter at all to you guys up there, though? Or do you just watch like amused? Or do you care about this?
No. If the U.S. sneezes, we get a cold. Like the largest trading partner in the world.
Yeah.
Largest unprotected border in the world. It means a lot to the economy up here. Obviously, it's extremely interesting. Like everybody's,
we appreciate your compassion and empathy. When the U.S. sneezes, you get coronavirus up there. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that border should be a mask. Yeah. So we got people checking in right now. Hey, if you're checking in right now, hit that like button, hit that applause button, send a little heart up there. Larry will send you back a bottle of maple syrup. We're gonna have a fun time today. Speaking of exports, my favorite exports from Canada, y'all make some pretty decent booze up there. I was a Molson Triple X fan in college.
Yes.
Since graduated to the Canadian whiskey. What is your whiskey of choice, sir?
My whiskey of choice is
I'm going to be drinking a lot tonight, so I need some recommendations. Okay, so what do you got for us?
Bushmills is my whiskey of choice. Irish whiskey.
Nice. Irish whiskey, man.
Yeah, that's my thing. Canadian whiskey is great, of course, but.
Since today is the election, I want to know what your drink of choice is. Put it in the comments there. Give yourself a shout out. We got a bunch of people checking in on LinkedIn. Go ahead, hit that like button. Let's have some fun today. I want to know who you are, where you are, what you're drinking tonight as you're watching the election. Let's see here. We've got we've got Tim Quirk. Where is the printed paper sign? We got fans already tuning in. Larry.
Look at that.
I gotta find one. I'm a fan, Larry. Okay, I'm a fan of the stuff you do on social, man. And I want to know, man, like Tim's, where's the printed paper sign? But how did you get into making videos on LinkedIn and doing stuff like this?
Well, it's what's happening in the world. As a salesperson, you can't get in front of anybody, and the whole process is kicked back, and it's all the recognition, and people don't start looking for a product or a service until they actually need it.
That's right.
And if you're not in front of them, they don't know about you. And so I just started basically ranting.
I love a good rant.
Whenever anything got on my mind or anything, I just used the media, just hooked up the phone and did it, and still do it. I don't have a schedule. It's just whenever I get something in my mind, I just go on. I try to get one every week or two.
How often do you have something in your mind? Okay.
Yeah, too often. Too often. I have to kind of tame it back quite a bit, but yeah, so every week or two, just for the visibility, basically let people know we're alive. The sales cycle is a weird one these days. There is no sales cycle. So people basically start looking for people like us on the, a week out. So the whole thing was just to get out in front of people.
What was your hey, I got a question here from Janet Turner. Hey, let me ask your questions for Larry, for me. We could talk about Canadians, we could talk about moving, we could talk about relocation, we could talk about sales guys, because we're going to talk about that a little bit too, and sales gals out there. Leave your questions in there. We're going to go all over the place. We're going to have fun today, so feel free to have fun in the comments. Thank you, Tim, for doing that. We've got a bunch of people: Lynn, Brian, Jeff Horn, Tom Trainer, Janet Kelly checking in. Janet has a question. Was Larry nervous to do his first video on social media? What was your first video, and were you nervous about it?
Yes, I was, and it ran for about 10 minutes. So it was just way too long and way too.
Don't tell me that, dude. I do an hour every day. Okay, so
I know,
10 minutes is too long. Then I'm wasting 50 minutes a day.
Yeah, no, this was it was a rant. Yeah, well, it's nerve wracking. You're there, and you don't know who's going to be watching, or you kind of, So my whole thing is just to.
Was it live or was it recorded?
No, it was recorded. I do most of mine and then just on my phone and then upload it. And it just started. I came up with the concept, Ask the Expert, and I was basically explaining the moving industry to people and all the jargon and all the BS and all the stuff we make complicated for what should be a simple service. Yeah. And so I just started explaining the industry to people, and then it just turned into a weekly thing. The whole gist was to just ask the expert anything about moving, and then nobody asked, so I just started telling.
You're like, crap, I need a better topic here.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, if you want to ask the expert, go ahead and ask Larry anything about moving. I will also chime in too with unsolicited commentary as well. That is my trick. What did you edit any of those, or do you just go like stream of consciousness? Like, I'm just going to talk to you.
It's pretty much freestyle. I just go non-rehearsed. I have an idea where I want to go with it. My sons are saying, you gotta rehearse that stuff. I said, then I lose my rhythm. So no, I just kind of, I'll delete some. I might do 2 or 3 takes, but basically I'll just get on. I'll have a concept of where I want to go with it. I just, freestyle.
Speaking of freestyle, we're gonna switch this up a little bit today, and we're gonna ask everybody who's watching right now, and I'm gonna shout all of you out. I want one question from everybody who's watching. I see 13 people on LinkedIn. I see about 5 people on Facebook. Lynn Greenberg, I want a question. Brian Rivers, I want a question. Tim Quirk, I need a better question. Then where's the paper sign? Jeff Horn, you're not even in the industry. Give me a question. Tom Trainer, I want a question. Janet Turner, you did good. I want another one. Kelly Hartquist, give me a question. Henri Dussois, I want a question from France. Sandra Clary always is good for a question. So Sandra, I'm going to ask you to give me 2. And Steve Miser, the chop bustin' driver from Hampton Roads, I'm going to ask you to give me 2 good questions from a driver perspective out there. I want to hear you because the drivers always come from a totally different perspective. And so we've got our first question in here. Let's see here. Brian Rivers, what process improvements are a result in the moving industry as a result of COVID? What process improvements are in the moving industry are a result of COVID?
Well, the virtual survey.
How do you feel about the virtual survey?
Mixed. My whole kick on the industry is from a sales perspective. Yeah. And I think the more, a lot of people say some of my rants are kind of anti, relo or whatever. But my whole thing is that I think the moving industry, as moving salespeople, we're losing the connect with the customer. And the more we do that, the more we become a commodity, because then we're just dealing with pricing. So it's fine. But, bid boards and big contracts where we're putting in prices rather than, selling or consulting moves us back from the customer another step. I have no problem with them, but they have to be followed up.
So I want to comment on one thing you just said there about removing us from the customer, right? I think the virtual survey process is great. However, you obviously have an issue with accuracy. But to your point about removing us from the customer, like physically, like physical proximity, I think can now be understated. Because one of the things when people come to us with these moving broker quotes, one of the first things I like to ask them is, did they come in your house? Mm-hmm. Did they physically come in your living room, come in your kitchen, sit down at the kitchen table, look you in the eye, count everything with their own 2 eyes in your home, feel the heft of your oak? Did they feel the heft of your oak? And if you can't tell me they felt the heft of your oak, then why would you give them your oak? And I think that's being lost. And like
100%.
Gosh,
yeah. The whole sales process is being lost. That was my rant, the last one about the wash machine. Everything is getting very sterile and very bottom line focused, because we're not talking about all the things we used to talk about. I've been in this industry forever, And we used to have presentations when we went into a home back in the COD, when I did COD sales. Like I had a little binder and I went through and I talked about air rides.
Bro, we still do that. We still do the binder.
Yeah. Well, it used to be a real in-depth presentation. And, now a lot of us, Canada, US, we're a microcosm of the US. We're 1/10 of everything up here. So we're 10th of the size. We have 10th of the volume.
10th of the COVID cases.
Yeah.
No, but let's go to that presentation though. That do you still go in, and I apologize. Do you still go in homes? No?
Every now and then, yeah.
Occasionally, it's more of a nice touch thing than I like.
Yeah, I'm a home office individual, so I do corporate. But if there is, if there's corporate moving in my city, I'll go over and do it. So I still do surveys, yeah.
And because of that, it's also not as much the in-home presentation because you've already got the business, already a done deal when it gets to you.
Exactly.
So but for COD guys, I mean, our COD people are still doing in-home estimates. They're still doing the brag book. They're still now. I think that stuff still plays today. Do you think it plays today or not?
If we want to get away from being a commodity, it does. Because if we're just going in and bottom lining it, because what happens with a lot of this stuff in the bid, like the bid boards and big corporate accounts, big government accounts, when I got into the industry a million years ago, I was throwing a tariff and said, you go and do the government business because it doesn't really matter if you screw it up. Yeah, God's truth. Now that's in Canada, I'm not down there, but the more big accounts that we already have the booking, the more because you have two sales in our industry. You sell to the customer and then you come back to operations and sell the ops guy on what we sold the customer. And we're customizing a service, and then we got to come in and say, hey, Frank, can you do this and this? And very important.
That's true, because what's funny, and this is for the corporate folks that are out there watching. I'm not sure if there are any watching, but if you're watching right now, every piece of business out there the corporate gives us is not good business. Operation doesn't want to do half the stuff we bring back to them. Our ownership doesn't even want to take your money half the time. So I just want to put that out there because I think there's a lot of corporate folks out there that think that all their moves are golden and we should be happy to take all of them. But I mean, it's just it's not the case. You're right. You got to sell it internally. I got to sell my coordinator. I got to sell my claims person. I got to sell my ownership. I got to sell my dispatcher. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm lucky a truck shows up sometimes. I mean, Jesus.
It's a different animal. It's a different animal, and we distance ourselves from that, customization. And then if we don't do it, that's where I truly believe that we're in the industry is in the slump it's in because we've backed away from the sales, and we're letting everybody do our sales for us. And then we're basically, I call it counting chairs, right? We count chairs and we don't customize. We don't, make the service different than the competitors, try something new, try to get that little edge. And then we're widgets.
Well, you're right about that too. Cause I mean, we are so far removed right now from, the mover is so far removed from the shipper, the customer, the transferee, the whatever, the person whose goods we're handling. I mean, it goes, person whose goods we're handling to their corporation, to their relocation management company. Sometimes there's a move management layer in between that, right? Sometimes they give it to the van line, who then gives it to the agent, who then gives it to the, to the coordinator, right? Who then the driver. I mean, there's so many layers there. And what is the downside? I mean, obviously the telephone game is the downside that first comes to mind. But what do you see as downside between all that layering?
It's just the handoffs. You're getting 8 or 9 handoffs on the communication line. Rather than just a direct, here's your coordinator, or here I am as a salesperson. If you have a problem, you call me, or you call Mary or Jane or Amanda, or whoever it might be. And it's direct. Here we're going through layers and layers of communication problems.
Yeah, and also relationship gets lost. Right?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, the best moves are when the driver and the shipper, for lack of a better word, the person, because I can't call them a customer because the client is like kind of the corporation, or the RMC, right? It's just so perverse. It's like I'm a decade into this and I still don't know the terminology. And I'm the guy talking every day. There's a problem here. No, but I mean, that relationship gets lost. But when the driver's talking to the customer, and as long as he doesn't, promise to be in Nashville when we have to be in Knoxville that day, that's usually a really good scenario. We've got questions coming in. I love this stuff. Keep them coming. Jennifer Anderson, what's up? Kelly checking in. Victoria says, you mean you don't want to move the college student with a bed, 2 nightstands, and a TV? Gosh, you're lucky for 2 nightstands, Victoria. I mean, you know how many of those moves on the bid board that said 1 bedroom were really a duffel bag? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about, Victoria. Jamie Massler checking in here from Mississippi. Jamie, did you vote? Everybody get out and vote. If you haven't voted, where's my little vote sticker? That's a vote sticker. I don't know if you can't see it.
We're going up against some serious airtime, right? It's like a ping pong game in the Super Bowl. There's a lot of activity going on in the U.S.
There's a ton. Let's see here. We got a bunch of people checking in on LinkedIn. Hit that like button if you haven't done it already. Leave a question. Leave a shout out. John says, Larry, do you read a lot? If so, what is the book you recommend most often, or what book have you read recently that you would recommend?
I read a fair amount, and I'm into, well, you're not going to believe this, I'm into Stoicism and things like that. I'm into more philosophical stuff. I've read a lot.
You're the third person to talk about Stoicism in 2 days to me. What the heck is Stoicism? I thought it's just when you get on a WebEx and somebody doesn't say anything. What is Stoicism?
It's an ancient Greek Roman philosophy. It's interesting. It's a way of coping with life and looking at things. So I do that. I do a lot of the, I had read a lot of business books, but the fact of the matter is that everything that's written about business or sales, for that matter, is outdated because the sales cycle is gone. I ranted about this a little while ago in the fact that, I do corporate sales. I was into this Miller Hyman strategic selling and all that kind of good stuff. Well, that's basically out the window because consumers or corporations can get everything they need on the internet. They get all the everybody thinks they can be instant experts. So the job of the salesperson to try and get in and talk to corporations is gone. So you're coming in now with RFPs being let in a week, saying here, you don't get to talk to anybody, you just get to fill out the RFP.
60 question RFPs, 1 week notice.
Yeah. And that back in the day, you could maybe develop some sort of a relationship with someone, but that's out there. So
Larry, let me stay on this RFP question. Larry, have you ever won an RFP you got a 1 week notice on? I got a theory about this.
No.
I've never won it either. And here's where my theory goes. And you tell me what you think.
Uh-huh.
My theory is they've been talking to some guy for 2 months and they give you 1 week.
Yep. We called it wired.
Wired?
A wired contract, a wired RFP. If you ever see them, it'll be kind of, do you have a warehouse in Cincinnati that's 300 square feet outside? The guy who they've been talking to, or gal, has wired the contract. They've wired the RFP to land with them. We had a big case in Canada with the federal government and a large relocation company where the folks that lost actually sued the federal government and won, because there were a bunch of questions that were kind of swayed to the incumbent that everybody else didn't realize. So it's a term, a wire but you're absolutely right. They're dealing with someone, they want to work with that person, so they let it.
I got one of those a couple of years ago, and I said, hey, awesome. You're a perfect client for us. You're right in my backyard. We're the perfect service provider for you. Can't wait. I just need to meet you, and we need to talk a little bit about why you're going out to bid. Like, oh, well, that's not our process. Once the RFP goes out, we don't talk to people except through the portal and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's cool for you, but I can't respond unless I actually understand. Like, you could be catfishing me right now. Like, what's funny is procurement now is mirroring dating online right now, right? People are getting catfished for RFPs. They're getting ghosted on responses, okay? People are lying about their measurements, right? Oh, I got 100 moves, I got 5. It's like Tinder out here, okay? It's abhorrent, okay?
Very good analogy. Absolutely right.
Gosh.
What irritates you when nobody gets back and you don't have a debrief? They don't tell you why you lost. Or it's just
you break up with me and you don't tell me why you broke up with me. It's like, like I gotta lose a couple pounds. What was it? Did you get back with your ex? Tell me what happened, okay?
It's
trying to make your ex jealous. I mean, that's what they do. They try to make their ex jealous. They go out to bid, right?
Yep.
And their current provider, they're just trying to shave a few pennies off, right?
100%.
And they go kind of like show a little skin out there in the marketplace, and then they come back, and all of a sudden the price is cheaper. Oh my goodness, people! You see what you're doing, us poor movers out here trying to make a buck?
But it happens all the time. That's not just our industry.
Oh, man.
RFPs are being just sent out with, there's no, there's a little bit, but you can't get everything you need to know about an organization onto 60 questions. And there has to be, I call it a request for conversation prior to a request for proposal. Like, phone up some suppliers, have a chat with them, meet them for a coffee. We're all pretty good people. Get a feel for the group, then go out for an RFP. Request for conversation, RFC, and then out.
Request for conversation. So you answer your RFPs with an RFC. I love it. Oh my gosh. Or RFI, a request for information. I just want to know more information about why you're, requesting this proposal. I love it. This is fantastic. This is great. People are asking questions. Okay, next topic. Tom Trainer, containerization. Is it the future? He's got it. This is a compound question there. Damage liability. Who does it fall on? Loader, transport, unloader. All right. Can we answer the first question? Broad. Forget the second part. Containerization. Is it the future? Larry Krueger.
It is. It's becoming more of the future as the drivers leave the industry. It's almost where it's going in a lot of instances. I'm not a raving fan. We don't use them at McWilliams. We use these snap containers every now and then, the smaller ones in the Mayflower United system, but the actual container.
Is that like storage vaults or like lift hands or something?
Yeah, lift hand things that they have for small moves. So we utilize them, but I see it happening more and more with the driver shortage because it's just going to be there, and then you can ship it freight and have your offload crews. But the actual labor end of it is the kicker on both ends. You have to know how to load those things. It's like loading an international container, right?
That's right.
And you have to have the
and it costs more, not only labor wise, but also material wise to load it, right? And here's the other kicker is, in just like international, all those materials have to now be disposable because they're going, but they're not coming back. Yep. Whereas that equipment, those pads and everything, all that equipment, those rubber bands, everything stays on the trailer, in the traditional pack and haul irregular route model. But so I actually prefer to look at this not as containerization as the future, but more of a hub and spoke model.
Yes.
Container is just a method of conveyance, but I think we need to look at this as like a transportation model and say, is the hub and spoke model becoming the model versus the irregular route? And I think when you look at freight and you look at, when you look at freight has hotshot service, and they have dedicated truckload service, but everything that goes LTL, less than truckload, is done through a palletized cross dock hub and spoke model. And that's a whole bunch of jargon to say, using warehouses and then delivering locally and freighting between, and we're starting to see this more now, even with drop trailers. So it's not just containers. It's not just like the old pods containers where I used to work, or lift fans, which are used on the international, or to your point, and sometimes in the, domestic. But it's also like these, they're using these 53-foot, freight trailers basically, that are dropped and hooked up locally and brought out, or they're using just the old fashioned 40-foot, 53-foot, ocean containers, intermodal containers. I mean, so
it's almost turning into an Amazon distribution network. If you think about it, right? If you had the warehouses positioned in certain areas, then they just do that in and out. And that may be the future, where you're going to have vanilla. I hope there's no van line people we're watching, but are you going to have vanilla operations that just provide that service for all colors? A distribution kind of service that then pushes stuff out. I don't know.
Are you saying like that provides transportation or provides
the actual hub, the warehouse hub, where you'll go out and pick things up for Allied, you'll pick things up for North American, Mayflower, United, bring it in like an Amazon distribution center, and then ship it out, and you can grab your own people on the other end or what have you. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see that on the U.S. military market. I don't know if they have this in Canada, but you see this in the U.S. military market with interline agreements, right? And so So some of the van line people out there, that especially have been around for a while, probably know interline agreements. We call 409 agreements or whatever. But basically, it's an agreement between two different van lines to swap tonnage and share tonnage. Well, in the military arena, it's extremely common where there is no pride of color. There is no yellow and blue and whatever or green, right? And the military shipments, they get it and they swap it all over the place. So independent agents, are going out to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and they're picking up shipments for Mayflower and United, National Van Lines, and North American, and maybe not North American. They're a little more insular with their model. But basically, point being is like, they do that now on the military side. So I could easily see that being done on the corporate side at some point. I mean, what's funny is as the corporates devalue their moving partners start to disinvest in the quality of service they give back too. It's not a one-way street,
Yeah, I hark about the fact that you can't relocate without a move. And we've been, as an industry, kind of not selling ourselves properly, in my opinion. We don't get in front of the customer. Again, full circle around why I started doing this is because it's very difficult to talk to in Canada. Let me just paint a scenario from Canada.
Please.
In Canada, about 80% of the industry, the corporate relocations, are owned by RMCs. And in Canada, there's probably only about 8 or 9 of them, because we've got the population of California, 332 million and what. So it's a small bunch of people, and the fact is that you could never talk to anyone because they were supposedly owned by an RMC.
Right, and these non-solicitation, non-speaking clauses in their contracts.
Yeah. Well, we about 10 years ago, and then that's where I got branded as being a chat disturber, for lack of a better term. We couldn't call on
disturber. What is it? I want to hear this.
A chat disturber.
Oh, because you're stirring.
Put an I in there. Anyway,
got it. Roger, got it.
Yeah. Anyway, because we were out there, I was trying to sell to people, and we were getting people that didn't work with us saying you can't call on our accounts because we have them and we're a relocation management company. Honest to God, like we got pulled into places. They would call my boss and say he can't call on that customer. We have it. And we'd say, well, we don't work with you. We're here. We'll work with you if you want to work with us.
Who are you to me? Exactly. But hey, that's my girlfriend. You can't talk to her. It's like, what?
Yeah. And it was weird. So we just said, well, we're just going to, the tact we took is that we didn't want to be Switzerland anymore. And basically, we'll work with anybody that wants to work with us. But if they're not working with us, then we see them as a competitor, just like if they were another van line or anybody else. So we go after the business. And, they've got a great story to tell. In many cases better than ours, but that's not going to stop us from calling on them and trying to do business directly with them.
Yeah, and as you should. And then you know what they're going to do? They're going to want to start doing business with you just to keep you in a box, just to keep you at bay, because they want to make sure that they have some leverage with you so that you don't go chase after their clients directly. But going back to something that you said before about us getting further away from the customer, and going back to the original story you were telling at the very beginning of this conversation about why you started creating videos, I find that we're so far away from the customer and we're not top of mind because we're not the ones producing thought leadership in the market. We allow the RMCs to create all the white papers. We allow the RMCs to frame the narrative, right? And we don't, I want to say market ourselves. We're just quiet. We're content to be the dumb mover. We're like, we don't want to, like, we don't have an opinion and we don't have any insight, and we can't wear a fancy suit and tie sometimes, right? And have something smart to say every once in a while. So I mean, part of that's our fault. So I applaud you and people like you who said, I do have something to say. And I'm going to say it, damn it. And even though I can't afford, a nice sign, I'm going to write it on a piece of paper and I'm going to shake it around here. And I'm going to take 10 minutes of your day. Okay. Gosh darn it.
Yeah. And the thing we talk about technology and what is cutting edge in the industry. What you're doing right here, in my opinion, is the most cutting edge technology available to any industry. You can sit right here now, Ben. You have a great thing going on in the U.S., and I commend you for doing this. But you now have a direct line of communication with, and that's what's kind of, everybody's in a tizzy now because the big corporations can't do this as well because they've got to watch every P and Q. You can't say this. You can almost see a corporate podcast, and you can see just a real one. It's called transparency or whatever you want to call it, and people pick up on that because the corporates are sitting. I spoke to someone at a large relocation company, very large, and she was saying, I watch your things there. They're kind of cool. I like you doing that. I said, yeah, you should do. She said, I can do them, but I have to read from a script word for word because marketing says you have to do it this way, and you can't say this, and you can't say that, and you can't be real. And so this medium right here, Ben, is, I think, one of the most important things to hit the entire industry for years and years, because you can talk to customers.
Man.
No, it's true.
So much. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, Larry. And I respect what you're doing too. And I think it's basically the same thing in that we're putting stuff out there and we're being authentic and we're sharing what's on our mind. And we're going to talk about some of those authentic thoughts too. But I want to finish this thought and go ahead. And if you haven't already done it, hit that like button, hit that applause button, send a heart out there to Canada. Where in Canada are you, Larry?
I'm in Ottawa, which is in between Toronto and Montreal. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead and leave questions also in the comments there, because it's really about you and it's about engaging with you and making sure that we talk to the topics you want to talk to. So do whatever you want in the comments. It's open, okay, guys? But going back to what you were saying, though, about making content and stuff and saying what's really on your mind, right? Because these are the conversations we have at the bar at these conferences all the time. And people don't want to actually have these conversations. And that was the whole reason I started this show, because all the great stuff is being said at the bar, and all the stuff in the sessions is crap, to be completely honest with you. So let me read a PowerPoint, everybody check your email. It's like, okay, let's just skip that. So the whole reason we're doing this, right? And you're right. And there's going to be nimble players out there that are willing to take chances, like yourself, like myself, who are willing to take chances and are going to build something very, very important. And then there's traditional thought leaders out there, the large companies, the large associations who can't manufacture content at scale, at speed, and push it out there with relevance. Who are just going to get circles run around them until they just kind of, it's almost like Gulliver's Travels, right? I mean, the Lilliputians are running around and they're running circles and tying them up and they fall over. I mean, this is what's going to happen. And it's unfortunate, but a lot of people unfortunately think that there becomes a tipping point in your life, is what I've discovered. There becomes a tipping point in your life, in your career, as a company, in your life cycle, where you feel at some point that you have more to lose than you have to gain. And at that moment where you feel you have more to lose than you have to gain, you flip from an abundance mindset into a scarcity mindset. And all of a sudden you go from playing offense to playing defense. And now you're playing on your heels. You're trying to keep up with other people's pace. You're trying to be a second best version of someone else. You're trying to make sure you stay out of trouble instead of win. And it's just, you're playing prevent defense in football, which everybody jokes is the only thing it does is prevent you from winning. So I want people to hear this, not to say, hey, look at how great Larry's doing or how great Ben's doing, but to say, please continue to play offense. Even if you're at a big company, maybe you're the CEO of a company, maybe you're a little company, just play offense. Follow your heart, do what you think is right, create content out there, be yourself, be authentically you, be the best version of yourself that you can be, as Oscar Wilde says it, because everyone else is taken. So go ahead and be you. And thank you for bringing that up, Larry. And I appreciate what you said.
But it is the medium itself. It's not just in the relocation industry, but this medium is throwing big corporations on their heels. Like when you can access people like this and you don't have to ask for permission, and if you're interesting or if you're having fun, they watch you and you can give your point of view without you can't call on that customer. You can call on the world right here.
That's right.
With this kind of a medium. So I think that this type of guerrilla, if you will, marketing is what's going to change our industry, because we just had a fellow on the bottom there talking about Europe. People are we're all going through the same thing, and it's a good way to get it out there.
Henri gives you some advice. He says, Larry, you tell that RMC, hey, feel the heft of my oak. All right, that's what you can do. All right.
I don't want to get in trouble with all the RMC. I'm already in deep enough trouble.
Henri's at an RMC. He's cool. They're better. They're better people, I think, that we give them credit for. Eric Scorzelli, hey, happy late birthday, Eric. Play offense or everyone nips away at you 1 yard at a time until they are in your territory. That's right, man. They're going to eat your lunch one Cheeto at a time, man. Don't let them do it. Janet Turner thinks containerization is already here. I know Janet does a ton with containerization. Eric Scorzelli says, great point. Request for conversation moves to RFQs, leave the real needs off the table. Rigoberto also likes the concept of the RFC. Hey, leave a comment, leave a question right now. I want to hear your questions for Larry. Ask the expert. Ask the guy that doesn't mind also talking. Leave it in the comments there. We're gonna have fun. It is election day also. I'd love to, if you voted, shout yourself out too. Thank you for that. People are digging this whole request for conversation. I think an RFC is the appropriate answer to any RFP. Henri says a date with procurement. Yikes. Seriously, this is great. Henri says, this is so weird listening to you both right now. I feel like it's a continuation of the conversation I just had with Ben earlier. Neat. Henri, that was so cool. Henri's a guy that I met on this platform. We never met in real life. We talked for the first time, I think, verbally to this morning, and it's just so cool how we've had the opportunity to kind of just meet people through platforms. Have you met anybody, Larry, through doing some of your content? Have people reached out to you? Any kind of new relationships that you really cherish?
Yeah, we've met some interesting people. I've got some good folks who've actually done business over this. I've got Jan in Holland over utilizes us for any cross-border stuff. So I've got an international guy that I've not met before, but kind of liked it. And then when he gets a request for anything coming into Canada that they can't manage, he sends it over to me. We met quite a few people and actually turned some business out of it. It's the platform. Well, you're not supposed to. You see, there's my dilemma. Maybe you can help me here, Ben. You're not supposed to ask for business. The gurus, that whoever they are that set these things up, it's supposed to be just an information piece. You're not supposed to ask it. I like to ask people for business. Maybe I'm weird. Like, I'd love to do business with anybody coming to Canada. I don't know.
You can be weird and not wrong at the same time. Okay. No, I think that is the unwritten rule, right? Is that we're supposed to pretend that our light bills pay themselves, and we can't ask for business, and we're doing this out of the goodness of our heart. And I believe that you are, and I believe that I am too. And it's something that I struggle with too, right? It's like I do these shows every day. People, the number one question but after why the heck do you do this is the second question I always get is, do you get business out of that? You get business. You get business. Yeah. And depending on who's asking, it depends on the answer I give. With boss, I make something up. If it's somebody else, and I tell them to go take a long walk off a short pier, right? But I think it's one of those things where you're planting seeds, and when the need comes around, you're in front of their face, and hopefully you've built up enough goodwill and enough credibility, and you've helped enough people along the way that they like you, they trust you, and they want to do business with you. And that's what I'm banking on. I don't ask for the business much. I think it's actually a weakness in my professional game, frankly, is that I don't tell people like even what I do. People don't even know that I'm a mover. Like, some of you, like, what do you actually do? Yeah. I actually started doing this. I started putting the trucks in the background. So people would know, like, what I put them right next to my kids. Like, hey, my kids actually eat by putting stuff in these trucks. So if you want to just help me out at all, and they say, Ben, what? I got to feed you? Are you kidding me? Like, you're hurting right now. And
if anybody's looking for a mover, Ben's in the business.
I need a more sympathetic profile. I need.
But you're absolutely right. You have to. The whole thing is that hopefully people get a feel for your personality. They realize that you're a bright guy. You know what you're talking about. And when the time comes, the whole thrust of this stuff is you can't get in front of a cut. I call on a client that they don't have phones in their building. What? They do not have phones. Here you go.
How do you call on a client that doesn't have a phone?
There's the $1 million question.
Where in the hell are they? Who?
No,
I know this is proprietary, I'm sure.
No. It's an extremely large tech company, and what they do is everybody's on email, and if they want to talk to you, they'll go to a communal area where they actually have a phone, but they don't.
It's like a payphone. They got like payphones in the break room.
Back in the day, you had to get through the gatekeeper. That was the thing you would call, and then now people try and phone somebody. Try and leave a phone message for anybody, and they won't either listen to it or get. So you have to do something like this to be in front of the client, because video and this type of thing people watch, but just trying to get in front of a customer is almost impossible now. Like we do mailers, we do this type of thing. We do. I've made more cold calls than the entire Kingdom Hall. At the Joe, I have called people to death, and it just doesn't happen anymore.
I don't even get the reference, but I love the joke. This is so great. All right, hold on. We got Brian Rivers. Brian says, Larry says he's been in the industry for quite a long time. When I hear that from most folks, I love to know how they got into the industry and why they haven't left yet. Just kidding. He didn't say that. Usually by accident from my experience, though. But seriously, tell me that story. Larry, how'd you get in the biz, man? I
wasn't even hired to be in the business. I was a young guy. I was like 22 years old, and I seen an ad in the paper. I went in and applied for a job. It was actually, I came full circle. It was for a company called McWilliams Mayflower out of Ottawa. Anyway, I went in and applied for the job, and I was a kid, and I can still remember the guy said, "You're too young. We're not going to hire you." And
how old were you? You say the kid. How old were you?
I was 22.
22, you're a kid. You got a strong back. You're 22. I could use you.
No, I was applying for a sales job.
Yeah.
Okay. And the guy told me, "You're too young. You're too young." He said, "We're not going to hire you." And I said to the guy, I said, "Well, let me come in, and I'll work on straight commission, and if I make something, that's fine." They threw a tariff at me and said, "Go sit over there in the corner."
Is this the Great Depression? You're willing to work for bread? Like, what the heck? What are you telling me? You're willing to work for straight commission in the movie business? Straight commission.
2 weeks later, the guy they hired quit, and they gave me the job, and that's how I got into it, and that's how I've been in it ever since. And it's just, and it was, well, you're in it. People that are in it, it's a fun job. Like it's an interesting job. You have the opportunity to sell into major corporations. You see a cross section of life. You go from presidents of companies to, a 1-bedroom apartment. It's a whole cross section of humanity that you get to deal with.
I totally agree with that part about, like, it's a fun gig, especially if when you get to the corporate side of it. Mm-hmm. I think going to the homes and being a COD salesperson is kind of a grind. That being said, hey, I'm hiring a COD salesperson. Great job. There's a car allowance. Hit me up for DMs.
I seen that on your post today, actually, and that's I think, is that coming from the requested relocations that seem to be happening now? Like, people, are they getting out of? You're in Detroit, right?
I had 4 personal people call me for, like, with referrals last week. Not including all the leads that North American generates, not including the people that seen our truck, that moved with us before, had a neighbor, whatever. People just hit me up that I know. They say, "Hey, Ben, you're in the business. I'm moving." Like,
we see,
crazy.
I'm thinking it's because people are getting out of the core, right? Because of this work from anywhere stuff that's happening now. We're seeing a lot of it in Toronto and places like that, where people are keeping a condo, selling the house downtown Toronto, making $1 gazillion, keeping the condo, and then moving out and commuting 2 days a week into the core. And I think that's going to happen a lot more too. And it's a quasi corporate COD market.
I think that people are making a lot of money on their house right now.
Yeah,
I think that's part of it, because house prices, at least here, are very high. Because I know 2 or 3 of those people who are selling their current house and either building a new one, or don't have a place to live, or can't find a new house to move into, so they need storage. There's some of that happening locally. I think that some of it's the summer volume that got pushed to the fall. People been wanting to make a move, but it got pushed to the fall. I think that one of them was in healthcare. 2 of them were local moves. A lot of them, I think a lot of them are just also just kind of people I know. Like, I've kind of developed networks here locally and stuff. So I don't know what event it was, or how much of it's event based and how much of it is just my growing network and things. So, we've got some people here. Mark Gray, watching two of my favorite industry professionals, Ben Cross and Larry Krueger. Always enjoy your broadcasts and LinkedIn posts. Thanks, Mark. Mark, you got a question for Larry or myself here? He's got a comment here. I think he's angling for this requisition I have. Best job I ever had was a COD sales rep. Hey,
back
Mark,
in the good old days, probably.
come up to balmy Detroit, Mark. Let's see if you still got it. How many chairs I got? Quick. How many chairs?
But it is a fun job. It is a fun job, though. The problem with it, and I keep harping on it because I'm sure is the sales now we're going. When you're the second guy in the house because the customer's asking you for a discount. Like the customer doesn't know that. A client when you're going into an RFP and the customer's asking for X, Y, and Z, it's someone that's been in there before you that has said, "I'll give you this off," or "I'll do this," or "I'll." So you can almost tell how long you've been around and say, "Well, we're going to give you this," and we lose that ability to find out what they need, put it together, come back with a rate, and because we're just bottom line focused. It's just everything, it seems.
So you're a salesperson. I'm a salesperson. You made a post the other day, and I loved it so much I had to share it myself again, right? And unfortunately, it wasn't a graphic that I could just steal and take as my own. It was actually a video of you, so I had to give you full credit for it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It was splendid, and it was the story you were telling, and
the wash machine, my wash machine.
Tell that story like quick. Tell that story, but I want to talk more about the learnings from it and your thoughts about salespeople and the value of a salesperson.
It actually went full circle. So I'm in a condo right now. I'm being put up by my insurance company because my house flooded.
Oh, no.
Yeah, my wash machine kept flooding and flooded. So anyway.
This is the washing machine that was making the noise that they said was supposed to happen?
No, this is the one I went out to buy because my other one flooded. So anyway, I went out to buy a wash machine and nobody told me there was no such thing as agitators anymore. There weren't any agitators. The guy walked into the store, and big box store, and looking for someone to help me. No one would help me. I asked for help. This woman came by, said, "I work in lumber, but I'll sell you a washing machine." Halfway through it, there's Frank. He's in the department. I walked over and said, "Frank, is this a good machine?" He said, "Well, we sell a lot of them. Where do you want it delivered?" That's what he said. That was it.
No, I know. I've heard that explanation before. We sell a lot of them.
We sell you. So anyway, I got it, and the thing didn't work properly. I sent it back. It turned into a real mess. I went back out the other day and had the exact reverse situation happen to me. I went to another big box store, but I got in my opinion, a professional guy, an older guy, that explained everything to me. And selling isn't tricking people. Like everybody say, "Oh, you're a salesman. You're out to trick me, and you're a carny or something, a con man." But this guy was professional. He explained to me. I haven't bought a wash machine in 20 years. I don't know what I bought. Like people move and they think they're experts because they move every 5 or 10 years. So they don't, we don't want to hear it. But he explained everything to me. He was very pleasant. When he gave me a little discount, when it was time to write it up, he walked up to the front, filled it out. He said, "Take a picture of the receipt." He said, "They have a tendency to fade." Like an old school guy.
That was old school. I like that.
I paid $400 more for it, but I bought it because this guy was just, and not a pushy guy, not just a professional guy that told me how these things worked and what I should look for. And, if you're on the main floor, just things that we take for granted now because we've been around too long. We don't tell customers about it.
Side note there, because you keep talking about older guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I totally know the type you're talking about. And I love those guys and gals too, because they're pros. They've been doing it for a long time. And I just think about how ageism is in the workplace right now. I mean, it's a real thing. Okay. Ageism's a real thing. Age discrimination, age is a protected class, at least in the US. And I think that this is also an awesome area for older people to really excel because they come across as such experts at things and they have such gravitas with things, They've seen receipts fade for 20 years. They know they can
take it out of his wallet and show it to you. Look at that.
Exactly.
No, but it was just a pleasant, and he was a sales guy, but he was a pleasant kind of individual, and that's where my whole circle going there, and I was saying the world needs more salespeople because you're supposed to know everything. Like when these corporations are going out for RFP, they're supposed to know our industry, and they don't. They don't. They're asking for things that just don't add up. You've got to go back and educate them sometimes, and then they don't like that because you're. So it's the talking and putting that. When I say sales, Ben, I don't I don't mean trickery. I mean giving good, solid information and fitting them into what best suits them.
Yeah, people say to me all the time, "Hey, what's your closing line? I need some closing lines." Here's a closing line. What can I do for you? Like, there's a closing line for you. Like, start asking good questions. It's not about Alakazam, give me your Visa card. It's like what do you need? How can I help you? Like, exactly. I care about you. Like, these are closing lines. I care about you and want to help you. That's a closing line. So I want to ask everybody that's watching. We got a couple dozen people watching right now. I want you to stop what you're doing. Okay, I'm talking to you. Henri and Mark and Janet and Thomas. I'm just calling people out. John. Jennifer, Brian, Kelly. I want Victoria. I want to know. A lot of you are salespeople right now. I want to know what your thoughts are on what Larry's talking about. Does the world need more salespeople or less salespeople? I want to do a quick audience poll. Does the world need more salespeople or less salespeople? Because I'll be honest. Oh, a couple of people dropped off. Start naming people like, oh shit, I gotta go. They see me. Does the world need more salespeople? Yes or no, and why? I want you to leave it in the comments there. But as the world evolves, as we have more technology, more automation, more artificial intelligence in lieu of actual intelligence, I'm just okay. I do these long-winded questions, so bear with me. Get a drink. Use the restroom, everybody. So. Back in my day, okay, I'm 38. I'll be 38 this month. Back in my day, it was all about you need to go to college to get a computer science degree. All these kids going to school, getting these humanities degrees, these literature majors, these arts majors, whatever. They're wasting their money. They're wasting their time. I graduated college. I had I was an English major and Africana studies major. My dad bust my chops to this day about it. What are you going to do with that, right? And now I see Mark Cuban come out about 2 years ago, and he posted something, and it was, the skills that you're going to need in the next 10 years are going to be the writing skills, the art skills, the ability to empathize, the ability to communicate with other humans, because it's the last skill that the machines are going to take from us. It's the last skill that they're going to replace us. And when I hear you talk about the need for salespeople, I see almost a renaissance happening with salespeople.
It's a great profession to be in, a professional salesperson, and you're absolutely right. You can't do what you just said to do. You don't have the empathy, and that's again a lot of the stuff is getting so cut and dry that it just becomes. It's not what people want. They're supposed to know the subject. If they're purchasing something, my kids, when I bought the washing machine, for example, said, well, why didn't you research it? Why didn't you go into some detail? Well, I just don't, that's why I talk to salespeople. I want to, and I don't know why when people say sales, you want to spit or something. It has this, it's not a bad profession if it's done professionally. And if you're actually going out to help someone.
Well, here's why people get like their skin crawls when we say salespeople. Okay, and I was on a call with somebody the other day who wanted to demo something for me. Right, I'm not even a customer type, and they wanted to demo something for me. Right, and I know they're not watching today because it was evident in their presentation that they don't actually watch the show. Right, and so they're just like giving it to me, and they're just showing me this demo, and they're just like hitting me over the head with this thing. And I'm just like, I'm not the buyer. You obviously want to sell something. You're not asking for my thoughts on what the product market fit is of what you have right now. Like, I am so not here right now, and I need to go. and they want to talk about next steps. And I'm like, next steps? I'm like, I'm out the door. That's my next step. My next steps is to go end myself because I can't deal with this reality anymore of you on my screen showing me something I don't need. That is, I think, the worst case sales scenario. So we also as salespeople have to realize that's how we come off sometimes, and we have to frankly adjust, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. And it's and a lot of it's the sales training or lack thereof that gets them into these, regimented. Again, the freestyling. When you're talking to someone, you have to find out what they want and what they need, and it's a different sort of dynamic than the canned. This is what we do. This is what we do. Again, it comes back to talking, and we don't have that ability. We don't have the ability to talk to a customer anymore. We're getting into the cycle when it's almost halfway through. And that's when we're being introduced, and all they want is what they think they know they want, and you can't really go. So it's getting really weird for people my age. You, in your category, you may be able to adapt more.
Well, I think it's. I mean, maybe I'm more adaptable. I don't know. I mean, you're over here making LinkedIn videos. I don't know that we're any more or less adaptable. Generally speaking, by generation. I mean, you bought that washing machine from that older guy, and you loved it, and I totally see that. I've bought so many pairs of shoes from guys just like that, right? Or suits from people just like that, right? Or gosh, I wish I would have bought my appliances from someone like that. I didn't, and I regret it. My receipt faded, among other things. Where was that person, right? Like my dry cleaner. Like I need people like that in my life. Frankly, to straighten me out sometimes. I mean, we got people over here checking in right here saying more salespeople. Listen to the need of the customer. Stephen Meyer. This is interesting. The driver says more salespeople.
Oh,
geez! I thought if it was up to the drivers, they would have massacred us, all of us already. That's so funny, Stephen. You never know where the driver is going to come from on these topics. I love it. That's why I love asking. Tim Court, more real salespeople. Tim, what do you mean by real? Keeping it real? What are we talking about? Kelly, more better informed salespeople. Kelly, is it better informed or is it a better approach? Is it the lack of information? I mean, it could be, because there's definitely a lot of rookies out there, but you were a rookie salesperson back in the day. So, or is it a better approach, or is it better listening? Or Mark Gray's asking, are you asking, does the household goods world need more or less sales reps, or the world in general? Definitely just the world is kind of where I was going for. John Harmon says more salespeople, please, especially those who see sales as an opportunity to build real connections and to be of service. Isn't it also a good career? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, we joke about how the industry's, hard and everything and there's no money in it or whatever. But I mean, I've provided a nice life for my family, in this career. I mean, what do you think about it as a career? Would you tell a 22-year-old coming out of college, Larry, go be a salesperson?
Yeah, if they had
that conversation in your life. Stop playing, Larry. Come on, man. We know each other too well. You're BSing me right now.
No. Peter Drucker, the guru of business, said that the sole purpose of any organization in the world is to find and develop a customer. Without sales, there is nothing. There is nothing. I liken, you take a snapshot of a truck, of a moving truck. And you have the driver in the front. We need our drivers. We need the guys in the, you have the trailer in the back. That's our operations people, making sure we're getting the most payload, all the tires, all the administration, all the, people inside the organization. But the engine is sales. Because if there is no sale, there's nothing in this world that moves, period. Think about it. I call on human resource people. And again, it's like you're the plague. And sometimes I'd like to say, why don't you go and talk to your sales or marketing department and see how important it is to banks, to airlines, to anybody that is in the private sector, other than government. Without a sale, there's absolutely nothing. So yeah, it's an important part of our lives. And as we step back from it, we're making it more automated, and we're giving consumers more opportunities to make mistakes because they're not being guided.
So this is what Rigoberto's talking about this. As many purchases are automated in some way, so probably customer service consultants will be more needed. All right, here's what I want to propose this to you, Larry. Here's the trade-off, right? Salespeople don't know when to shut up. Here we are. I'm about to go over our time already. Okay,
we over already?
Yeah, yes, technically we are on the Eastern time. Yes, Eastern time we are. Here's the trade-off. I think customers should have to take meetings with salespeople, but they should be limited to 5 or 10 minutes, and they can disconnect at any time they lose interest. Okay, so it's a very firm cutoff. Okay, at that point, you determine if there's next steps or not. Right? It's like Tinder, right? It's like, hey, show you a little bit. Hey, this is me at the beach. You like it? No? Okay, great. Swipe, done. Right? But at least I get an at bat. At least I get a shot. Okay. And then as soon as I lose your interest or start talking too much about myself and not enough about you or whatever, you can just end the conversation. I'm not mad. I got my opportunity. I blew it. What do you think?
Should be an app like that. Yeah. It's an elevator pitch. In Canada, I had proposed at we have the CERC up here, opposed to your ERC. And I had suggested a speed dating. We have the networking night where you sit down, you actually have the corporates go around, you have a little bit of time to a 2-minute elevator pitch or make some sort of a contact. The problem is that we're out. If you don't have an avenue like this, you can't very well talk to customers until that RFP is let or until they want to talk to you. So it's a weird world we're in now. But as I said prior, this medium, your show included, but this medium is, I think, the most important technical advantage in our industry, in the moving industry, that has come along for many, many, many years. Not just our industry, but any industry where someone is, has a small business or just wants to talk to customers than anything that's out there. All the, video surveying and all the technology, all the dashboards that are being, made, and all the tech stuff.
Yeah.
This medium is extremely important going forward. So
I agree. And it's so funny because people always ask, well, how many people tuned in? I only saw 15 people watching. And I'm like, maybe 50 people tuned in, all said and done, right? I don't know, 67, 100, but it's like, how many people would you have talked to last week? How many people would you have networked with, right? It's like, it's a small number because we're used to seeing these enormous, big, numbers, right? It's like, but it stays around. So when, I post sometimes, it may only get, 5, 10, but the next week you get this amount, then you have somebody liking it, you get that much. It's out there, and you've said what you're saying, and then it just accumulates. So it's interesting stuff, really. It's super interesting. Stephen Meyer, the driver, I always want to read the driver stuff. He says, because most nowadays, talking about salespeople, are order takers. They don't sell much. They give more of our services away. Huh. Yeah, and then in turn, though, we charge $200 for a TV box. So hey, you know what? That's the rub, I guess, right? Sorry. Hey, sorry, Eric Scorzelli. I know that was a low blow. My bad. Shout out to Victory Packaging. I'm sure they're expensive boxes. Janet says more customer service training rather than sales, starting from old school, addressing emails correctly. God help you if you write Janet an email that doesn't say, "Hello, Janet. Good morning. How are you today?" I'm just kidding. No, but somebody, you got to know how to talk to people. All people like to be addressed differently, right? Mm-hmm. Sandra Clary, salespeople are more important than ever. True listeners and delves to understand the true need beyond the initially stated want, and to build solutions, not cram products that meet the need, and to help the client to say and sell. Yes, ton of need for questions and discovery, people. Mainly transparent information. Just be yourself. Confidence is key. Maybe I'd say vulnerability. I'd say the things that come from confidence.
It's not easy doing this.
Oh,
because you get a lot of backlash.
Is that a prediction?
I would come on, just an aside, I would come on and do a post and say something, and I'd go to some place, and the other movers, the competition, would come up and say, "Yeah, we always wanted to say that, but we never would. Keep doing it." And I never I always, are they just egging me on so that I dig so deeply into the ditch that nobody will ever talk to me? Or are they genuinely?
Keep digging, Kruger, keep digging.
Yeah. Keep saying something stupid. But but they, I've sat down and say, are you, I'm not from, are you just doing that just to, I'm the guy taking the arrows out here, or are you just sitting back and saying, oh, there's the idiot? But in the long run, it pays off because you're being true to yourself. And I never make anything up, never lie, never disrespect anybody, and just tell the truth of what's going on in the industry. I think people see that in the long run, and it works out in the wash. But anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Mark Gray says, I can tell you from a recruiter's perspective that we need more sales reps in the house of goods industry. I agree. And we need new blood too in it, right? I mean, frankly, he's talking about attrition. I mean, we need young people like yourself back when you started, like I started out of college too, answered the ad in the paper also. Other than drivers, the greatest rate of attrition in the moving and storage biz are good sales reps. For sure. Elena Anderson, Delay.
We need them, and we need to train them properly. Because if we bring them in and just throw them into the bottom line mentality again, then you're just back to where you started. But you have to bring them in and explain and train people coming in.
100%. Larry, I wanna. This has been a lot of fun, and to everybody that got involved in the comments. Okay, today is election day, right? It's all about getting involved, letting your voice be heard, participating in the process. To everybody that got involved today in the comments, like this, continue to like it. Please like it right now. Send Larry a like. I know he'll appreciate it. It also lets other people know that this is worth watching. So please do that. That is our currency when we do these things. And to everybody that participated, I hope you got more out of it than we did even. Really, that's what it's all about. It's about delivering value to you. So thank you for participating. Larry, I want to ask you to leave us with a last word here. What's a kind of a final thought?
The fact is that we have to stay in front of clients. We need a place at the table. I'm talking strictly as a mover now. I'm always pro move. That's, everybody knows that. So I think that we have to, as the industry is evolving, I think the mover is becoming more and more important. And as the request for relocations and things start to spill out where you can work from anywhere, I think there's a massive opportunity to take a market niche and get back into the corporate table directly with corporations, because the mover is really designed to manage that business, and we should be looking at that little request to move piece. It's a quasi corporate COD market that I think is going to be evolving, and we just got to keep plugging away to try and get a seat at the table.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. This has been wonderful. Larry, thank you so much for being here.
Been a pleasure. Had a wonderful time.
This is great. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing out there, Larry, too. I'm a big fan. Go check out Larry's stuff. If you haven't connected with him, please connect with him. Go check out some of the videos he's done. They're from the heart. They're authentic. They're great perspective. So I hope everybody goes and connects with Larry and follows that and likes the stuff that he's putting out there. You represent movers fantastically, Larry. So keep it up.
Thank you very much.
To everybody that tuned in today, thank you so much. Hey, tomorrow we're going to do an election special. It's a special because I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. We don't know what we're going to talk about. We don't know what's going to happen. We may not know for weeks, but I'm going to come on here. I know that we have Samir Kedekar from Banyan. He's the managing attorney and founder at Banyan. He's been on the show before. He's fantastic immigration mind. I'm also looking for RMC folks. I'm looking for corporate folks. I'm looking for movers who want to weigh in on the impacts of the election so we can all worry ourselves sick for the next couple months. So let us know if you're interested. Hit me up, DM me, and we'll you can come on for a few minutes and share your thoughts. Other than that, please drink responsibly tonight and enjoy the democratic process. And no matter what happens tonight, okay, we're all friends, we're all colleagues, we're all neighbors, we all love one another, and no matter what happens in Washington, that will never change. And the way that we treat one another has more to do with our own happiness, our own success, the success and health of our families than anything anybody can do in Washington. So just remember that tonight as we watch the election unfold. Let's continue to be our own leaders And love you guys very much. Thanks for being here today. See you tomorrow. Love and Relo. Take care.
Bye-bye.